Hey everybody, Kennis Russell here. I hope you're doing great. I'm here in my studio and I've just made some acoustical panels just like this one. Where'd it go? That one right there. Check out how I made them. Pretty cheap and they're really effective. All right, well, before I actually get into the footage of me doing the build itself, I wanted to explain the materials that I was using for this. Basically, whenever you're doing any sort of project like this, you're going to need three basic things. You're going to need some sort of acoustical treatment. That would be usually some sort of foam or insulation. And then you're going to need some sort of frame to wrap the insulation. And then you're going to need something to wrap around the frame. So basically you've got your insulation, your frame, and your fabric of some sort. So this is what I used. Let me go to the Google machine over here and I'm going to type in duct. What is that called? Duct board. And I'm going to put 4x10. Now this stuff is, you're going to find it like your AC supply store. You're probably not going to find it at Home Depot. Usually, if you've probably seen this before in like a commercial building of some sort that's got square ducting like this. It's just shiny on one side. It's actually a sheet that's a 4x8 sheet, kind of like a piece of plywood-ish. It's real rigid, and then they just cut it and fold it into that square. But this is it right here, this 4x8 sheet, and as you can see, a 4x8, if I were to cut that in 5 different pieces, I'd be able to get 5 2-foot by 4-foot panels out of this. And so that's what I was actually able to do. And they've got 3 different sizes, a 1-inch, a 1.5 inch, and a 2-inch. I could care less about the R rating, but I used the R6 1.5 inch. On this website here, I did not order mine off of this. I ordered mine from a local place. I highly recommend you find a local place to get it from, because you're gonna have to pay for shipping and all that kind of stuff if you do otherwise. Anyway, $70 plus $10 down here for the 1.5 inch thickness. So we're at $80 for one sheet. So that's how much the acoustical treatments were for me to do this project. Actually on their site, they had another page here, which is labeled Acoustic Soundboard Sheet 4x10, and it's the same stuff. So on this one, it's a different picture, so I don't know if it's got a slightly different look or what. It looks like it might be slightly more brown, but I have a feeling that it's the exact same thing. Anyway, this one, when you add the up price for the 1.5 thickness, ends up being $73. So I don't know, you might be able to find this cheaper than $80, but I'm going to just say $80 for a round number for the actual insulation for this. Then we're going to need something to wrap it with. So I'm going to go to the good old Home Depot, get some 1x2s. And these come in 8-foot lengths. I'm going to get 10 of these. I'm going to get 2 per board, basically. So one of them I'll cut in half. Those will be my 48-inch sides. And then another one I'll cut in quarters, and I'll basically have another half left over. So anyway, I'll have a little extra because I always make mistakes. So, and they're only $1.12 a piece. So I'm going to just round that down to $10. So now we're at $80 or $90 for this project so far. We need something to wrap the stuff, the insulation in, and I chose to use this stuff, Elevation Traffic Master product from Home Depot. It's just carpet. Now, if you go back in the back of Home Depot, this is like their cheapest carpet that they sell. There's a green one and a blue one and a gray one, and it's basically AstroTurf, like the cheap stuff. You want the cheap stuff because the thicker that it gets, the less the sound can travel through it. Remember, this isn't actually what's going to absorb the sound. This is just kind of for cosmetic reasons. You don't even have to have it on there. It just kind of looks a lot nicer. And so anytime you're testing a material for whether it's acoustically transparent or sound waves are going to be able to get through that material to then be absorbed by the insulation, you're going to do, you can put it up to light and just see if any light's shining through it. You could also kind of breathe through it, like put your hand on one side and breathe through it. And if you can feel your breath, then it's acoustically transparent. So anyway, this right here, 40 cents a foot. You really can't beat that. $3.58 a yard. Even if you were to go to Hobby Lobby and get like, cheap fabric, you're probably not going to get it for much less than $3.50 a yard, maybe. But anyway, I went and I just got 100 feet of this, 100 square feet. see, it comes in 12-foot sections. So I think I got 8 or 9 feet cut into 12. So I might have got a little bit more than 100 feet. Anyway, it's about 40 bucks if you do 100 feet. So we're at $130 for this project. There's always going to be a couple little things that maybe you don't think about. I'm going to use some Velcro that I already had on this. Let's just say 10 more bucks for miscellaneous stuff. We're at 150 bucks for 5 of these panels here that I was able to build in my garage, and they're really nice. They're going to last a long time because the material that it's wrapped in is carpet, which is made to be walked on. So I'm really happy with it. Anyway, let's take a look at my actual build of this project. All right, so I'm cutting up some of my 1x2s here on my good old saw, and I pre-made these. I made the ends here 23.5 inches, and so I'm just cutting a bunch of these up so that I've just got a big stack of them. 23.5 inches, and then I'm basically going to put 4 foot 48 inches as the length of these. So I'm just cutting these up, making a big stack of these. You don't have to be super precise with this, like you can be off. This is a project you can be off, a 1/16 of an inch on, or an 1/8 of an inch. So just don't make it harder than it really needs to be, because you're covering all this up with fabric. Here I'm doing the length ends of these, the sides I guess you would call them, and cutting the 48-inch ones. Like I said, just cutting through. You can see a stack of those there on the side. Moving off my saw, wiping away some of the dust, and what I'm here doing now is I'm trying to match them up so that they're, I have 2 of the same size. Like I said, if I was a 16th inch off or whatever, I'll just match 2 that were off together. Doing the same thing with the 48 inches. So now my desk, my workbench that I'm working on right now is actually 2 feet is the depth. So you'll see here in a second where that actually comes into. And I'd actually pre-cut these to the size that I have here, 23 by 48. You can cut them to whatever size you want. If you wanted to make smaller panels, square panels, whatever the case is. I'm getting the little staples off the ends of the boards there on some of those. So it's important to do that. Otherwise it might mess up the way things are put together. So I'm just taking my brother-in-law's staple gun or nail gun and nailing with brad nails. No, I'm sorry, they're not brad nails. They're staples. They make like a little U shape. Just stapling these guys together. And I take that back. No, this was the brad nailer. I'm sorry. So for the actual frame, I'm using the brad nailer. You could use screws if you wanted to just drill screws or drill screws in there. That would be fine. I'd pre-drill it with the drill bit first. And you might be wondering, why did I not put the top on the same way, or why am I putting that on like standing it up? It's because it's actually larger than 2 feet, and so like I said, my workbench is only 2 feet long, so it would have been holding off the edge. Anyway, so I'm kind of stacking them all up. There's 4. I'd actually previously made 1 already, but so I'm going to make a total of 5. And you can see here, it pretty much just, these panels are just sinking in there. What I love about this is there's a little bit of give with this insulation, and so I'm not having to worry too much about, is this going to be, too difficult to get exactly right. Like, you can kind of cram it in there a little bit if you want, and by the time you put the carpet on there, any mistakes that you have made are just simply covered up. Taking a simple knife and cutting off the edge there, and it's no big deal. It cuts off really easy and nice and clean. It looks like it was done in a factory or something like that. Pushing these guys in there. It looks like I'm pushing really hard, but I'm not actually. This is pretty easy to do. And as you can see, it looks great. Like, it already looks nice. In theory, I guess that you don't even necessarily have to make like this frame all the way around it. You could have just wrapped this in fabric of some sort if you wanted to. But I wanted to make sure that this lasted a long time. So I made sure that I had the wooden frame, but this is rigid enough, this fiberglass stuff, where you wouldn't have to necessarily to do that. So again, I'm just coming in through here and pushing everything in, making sure everything is in good shape. Making sure all the corners are in there. All right, moving on to the next one, doing the same thing, cutting the edge off, pushing them in, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Did I just yada, yada, yada the process here? All right, here's I was about to say the fabric, but it's actually the carpet. There's two sides to it. You want to make sure you put the rough side inside. And then you are simply just going to wrap this. Now, you can't really see in the angle that I'm at right now, but my garage is a complete mess. And so I'm actually restricted to this project to my workbench. And so otherwise I should have just put this on the ground. If I had space, I would have put this on the ground and just cut on the ground. So I'm not necessarily recommending doing this exactly the way that I'm doing it. You'd be better to work on the ground. So I'm just marking off roughly what the length that I'm going to need to cut here. And then I'm going to cut this. So I actually have two sections of carpet. You can see there's one in the background over there. And I'm going to cut that one up in a second. So this is kind of like my first section that I bought that I actually was from my previous project. Here you can see I'm taking that roll and then I'm cutting the length of what I want it to be. So it was like 48 inches plus some, because I wanted to be able to have extra. So basically I'm cutting this somewhere around like 52 inches or something like that. And I'm just kind of spiraling it up, and I got this big roll now of a rough cut. So here I've made I've cut the carpet down to hang over, be able to wrap around the edges and then staple it on the back. So it's basically, if my width is 24 inches, I'm adding about 5 inches to that. Enough, 1.5 inches on both sides to wrap around, plus about another inch to wrap over again. So basically whatever size you are making your panels, cut this at this point about 5 or 6 inches more than you need. Now you see here in a second when I put the back fabric or the back carpet on the back, that it's going to hide any imperfections that you have here. So you could actually cut a lot bigger if you wanted to, because you're going to put another piece over this. You can see here I'm kind of trying to staple up the end. I don't really have a particular way that I necessarily recommend. Just kind of wrap it up like a package as best as you see fit. There's going to be more than one way to do this. I think that a couple of my panels actually turned out differently, but I'm just stapling along, wrapping the ends like a package. It's as easy as it looks right here. You can kind of see the process at normal speed here. As I'm coming in, the key to this is lots and lots of staples. That's what makes it look good, is having a lot of staples, to be honest with you. From what I've found, what's great about the carpet is if you make a mistake, you can rip out a staple. And this is, outdoor carpet. It's made to kind of be worn a little bit. So there was even some spots that I was like, oh man, I'm gonna really mess this up, and I didn't mess it up just because the carpet is so sturdy, so durable. It's kind of interesting, being that even though it's the cheapest stuff at Home Depot, it actually works out pretty well. You can see, even on the edge, it looks pretty good. It's already looking, to me, good right now. I'm just kind of stapling the end in there a little bit. I think I probably, at the end of it, ended up stapling more staples into the end. And then I hammered it in just to make sure that it was kind of a square corner there. Now here is the back panel. Like I said, all this is going to be covered up when you're putting it on the wall. But basically what I'm doing is I just cut a piece again where it overlapped, and then I'm just going to staple it to the back of it, and then I'm going to trim off the excess as needed. So where I started there, kind of in the bottom left corner, I'm cutting it off now, and it actually, when you're cutting it, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks horrible. When you actually staple it all in, it actually makes it look pretty good. So I just kind of put some rough staples in, and then I'm going to go in and like every inch I'm stapling this in there. You can see by the time it gets to the end, it actually looks pretty darn good. Doing the same thing on this end, again, just stapling it in, putting a bunch of staples in. The more, the merrier. Cutting off the excess here on the other side and the other end. And I'm going to go in and put in more staples. Same process. By the way, you're going to use a lot more staples than you think. I actually had to use up all of my brother-in-law's staples and then go buy more staples. So get, I don't remember which packs I got for this. I think there might have been 500 per pack. And I probably, for all 5 of these, I probably went through 1,000. So you can see it. Here they are, all 5 of the panels, stacking them up here. And I'm going to take my hammer and just kind of bang in the ends here to make sure that you're kind of a somewhat of a 90-degree angle. Honestly, when you get done with it and you get them up on the wall, you're never going to notice the ends again. I thought that I would, and I have not even thought about it once they're up on the walls. So here they are. Now I'm going to go into my attic studio. And what I'm doing right now is you can't see my left wall, but I'm measuring from the left wall and measuring from the right wall to find the exact center. I wanted to find the exact center. I mark it, put a little bit of piece of tape up. Then I'm measuring where do these belong on the sides. And so I'm kind of rough doing it with my eyeballing what the middle position from where the speaker is to where my ear is at. That's where you want to put on the wall your acoustic panel. That's why I chose to do the 2 foot by 4 foot panels, because that's a big space. I kind of can't miss. So there's a way to do it with a mirror, what's actually better. But I didn't have a friend to help me out with this, or didn't want to bother my wife to come up and say, hey, hold a mirror on the wall. But if you see the mirror on the wall, if you're in your listening position, you can see the mirror, put a mirror on the wall and see the speaker cone, then that's where you need to put it. Anyway, I'll make another video on how to set up panels in the past. I'm using Velcro right now on the wall, and that was another reason why I liked using the carpet, because this stuff sticks to Velcro awesomely. I'm using the industrial strength Velcro stuff, and it just sticks. And you can see here in a second, I'm going to show you how I'm actually on the walls here. I'm resting it on my outlets. In this studio here, I put in a bunch of outlets, and it just happened to be that they were there. So the outlet's taking a lot of the weight, and then the Velcro is more or less just holding it on there. Sorry for this being blurry. Did the same thing basically for the ceiling. However, since making this video, the ceiling panels have fallen down, and then I've had to go back and staple this Velcro to the ceiling. It wasn't the Velcro that failed, it was the fact that it was the stickiness failed. And here's what they look like. This is the almost finished product. I gotta put the next one up on the ceiling, but that's what they look like. Well, what did you think about my acoustical panels? I really like them. I think they look professional in this room here. They look like they belong. You can only see one behind me here, but I've got the 5 in here. Plus I built a couple bass traps similarly for the corner. I really like this setup, and I was very, very happy that this wasn't super expensive. This can be one of those things that you could really invest hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It would not be absurd at all for me easily to spend $300 on this project. Wouldn't be absurd for me to spend $1,000 on this project to get basically the same exact thing that I was able to get by building it myself. Plus, I'm a DIY guy. I like doing it myself. So hopefully this video is helpful to you if you're considering putting together some acoustical treatments for your studio or for your home theater, whatever it may be. Anyway, Kennis Russell out. Thank you so much for watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, like this video, follow me on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Kennis Russell out. I'll see you in another video.